Well, last Thursday on his program, mind you, 2 days before the White House Correspondents' Dinner and the subsequent shooting or potential shooting, Jimmy Kimmel did a parody of the event. The roast targeted multiple people in Trump's inner circle, but one joke didn't seem to land well. Our First Lady Melania is here. Look at her, so beautiful. Mrs. Trump, you have a glow like an expectant widow. According to Kimmel, who addressed the entire situation on his show last night, he said the joke was meant to be about Trump's age. It obviously was a joke about their age difference and the look of joy we see on her face every time they're together. It was a very light roast joke about the fact that he's almost 80 and she's younger than I am. For context, Melania just turned 56 and Donald Trump is turning 80 on June 14th. Kimmel added his joke was not by any stretch of the definition a call for assassination, but the Trumps didn't see it that way. In a statement posted to X yesterday, Melania said Kimmel's hateful and violent rhetoric is intended to divide our country. His monologue about my family isn't comedy. His words are corrosive and deepens the political sickness within America. People like Kimmel shouldn't have the opportunity to enter our homes each evening to spread hate. A coward, Kimmel hides behind ABC because he knows the network will keep running cover to protect him. Enough is enough. It's time for ABC to take a stand. How many times will ABC's leadership enable Kimmel's atrocious behavior at the expense of our community? And of course, Donald wasn't going to let Melania fight this alone, so he followed her post up with one of his own. Wow, Jimmy Kimmel, who is in no way funny, as attested to by his terrible television ratings, made a statement on his show that is really shocking. He showed a fake video of the First Lady Melania and our son Barron, like they were actually sitting in his studio listening to him speak, which they weren't and never would be. He then stated, our First Lady Melania is here. Look at Melania, so beautiful. Mrs. Trump, you have the glow like an expectant widow. A day later, a lunatic tried entering the ballroom of the White House Correspondents' Dinner, loaded up with a shotgun, handgun, and many knives. He was there for a very obvious and sinister reason. I appreciate that so many people are incensed by Kimmel's despicable call to violence and normally would not be responsive to anything that he said. This is something far beyond the pale. Jimmy Kimmel should be immediately fired by Disney and ABC. Thank you for your attention to this matter. And surprise, surprise, the FCC is reportedly prepping to review ABC's broadcast license. According to Brian Stelter here, the Trump-aligned FCC is planning to file paperwork as early as this afternoon that will challenge Disney's 8 licenses for its 8 ABC stations. This early renewal move may be a major escalation by Brendan Carr. According to Semafor, the move isn't specifically regarding Kimmel. Those ABC licenses were not slated for license review until 2028 at the earliest. The FCC said in a filing that Disney's corporate diversity politics may have violated anti-discrimination rules, but the timing is suspicious, to say the least, especially since the FCC hasn't taken this kind of early renewal action in decades, according to Stelter. Of course, this type of story isn't new. Trump and Kimmel did the exact go-around back in September following a comment that Kimmel made about Charlie Kirk's death. Trump raged, his show was suspended, and then he returned to airwaves days later. And why was he brought back? Because surprisingly, people aren't a fan of the government censoring people. Take a look.
I've heard every side of the story, and in general, I just want people to speak, and then the ratings will do the talking, and you can support them or not support them. And if that's what you want to watch, you can watch it, or you can watch Gutfeld and listen to him bash Kimmel, or however you want to do it. That's the world I'd like to live in.
So this seems like a big attack on free speech. And yeah, I think we've been pretty staunchly in favor of free speech. And it is funny to watch right-wing people just become left-wing people. Because I said something about how you're a snowflake if you think you should be. If you agree with this, that's some snowflake. And somebody was like, you clearly don't even know what the First Amendment means. And that's exactly what left-wing people used to tell me. Freedom of speech doesn't mean freedom from consequences.
Right.
So y'all have just switched.
America's about being bothered all the time by people you don't like. People in this country are going to make a lot of money saying things you don't like. You may be listening to one of them right now. That is annoying. People don't like that. They're never going to like it. It'll never be satisfying to hear someone you don't agree with say things you don't like and get paid lots of money to do it. But that's part of the deal.
People still are not fans of this. Let's hear more from Glenn Beck for his take.
Let me be clear from the jump here. Jimmy Kimmel has every right to say what he said. He looked into the camera in a parody monologue for the White House Correspondents' Dinner, joked that Melania Trump looked like an expectant widow, tasteless, dark, but not funny, in my opinion. And one of the reasons it's not funny is it doesn't punch up, it doesn't punch down. It punches at the image of a woman standing beside her husband, who has already survived 2 assassination attempts, and 2 days later faces a third. There's just no reason for it. But the Constitution doesn't grade comedy on a curve. It doesn't care about comedy. It's really not about even comedy. It doesn't require jokes to be funny or not funny. It doesn't have anything to do with any of that. Kimmel has the right to say these things, and ABC has the right to air it. Free speech dies by 1,000 small enforcement actions dressed up as accountability.
And Jimmy Kimmel obviously has the right to say what he said. You don't have to like it. You can try to fight back against it. The battle of ideas, Jank, the free speech arena is the only answer is more speech if you don't like it, I would argue. But it seems like the right clutches their pearls, gets sensitive, and their only answer now is censorship and silence whenever someone says something they don't like about their dear leader, Donald Trump. What do you think?
Yeah, so I'm proud that we've been consistent about this for the whole 24 years we've been on the air, longest online show in history. And whether Democrats are in power or Republicans are in power, we're for free speech. If speech offends you, go to a different country. That's your problem, okay? I don't really care if people are offended by the speech. So, and I live by that. I don't just say it for you, I say it for myself. Like Charlie Kirk said terrible things about Muslim Americans. So what? It's America, he's allowed to say it, okay? And I'm allowed to debate him on that, and I'm allowed to fight him with everything I got on that. I agree with him on other things. So it's like literally the core of this country. So, and the reason I mentioned power is because whoever's in power always tries to block speech. That's why we have the First Amendment, because they knew that the government would try to block speech. So when the Democrats are in power, they say, oh, no, you can't do that. And if you don't remember MAGA, let me remind you of a billion things, but one in particular that was very stark right before the election. Remember the comic at Madison Square Garden at the Trump rally right before the election saying that Puerto Rico was a floating island of garbage. So at the time, Democrats are deeply offended, and they, wonder if he should be allowed to say that, et cetera. Although to be fair, no one tried to take anybody's license away. No one tried to say that he can't say that, but they were deeply, deeply wounded, offended, et cetera. And I get it. A lot of people have thinner skin than I do. I have very thick skin because since I grew up Muslim and I'm an atheist and I'm a Turk and I'm an outsider, a left winger, et cetera, I've taken so much abuse that I find it to be Tuesday. So I don't really care at all, right? But I get that others care more. But even if you care 100%, it doesn't matter. It's allowed. So it's a joke and we move on. And it was before the shooting, not after the shooting. So, but to me, Jordan, all that stuff is super obvious. Republicans being hypocrites, especially when they were so focused on freedom of speech in the 2024 election and in the 2020 election. Half of their conventions were about freedom of speech, freedom of speech. And the minute they get into power, you have offended Melania, the first lady. That's it, you should be banned. You should be fired. You made a joke about the president. If you can't make a joke about the president, that means you just can't make any jokes at all. No jokes are allowed.
We'll be back with the news, but first I want to tell you about something that's made my day a lot easier, and that's Cook Unity. Cook Unity has helped me stay balanced and nourished with my everyday meals, especially when I run the company and I host a show. I have so little time to cook. They're the first meal delivery service bringing you high quality, locally sourced meals from award-winning chefs right to your door. Lately, I've been looking for something to eat between the tons of meetings I have throughout the day. So I recently tried their Mission-style carnitas burrito with salsa verde and Mexican crema. It's peanut-free, high in protein, and has just the right amount of spice. Every meal is handcrafted by chefs and made in local micro kitchens, not large production facilities. Your food arrives fresh, never frozen, in packaging that keeps meals fresh in the fridge for a whole week. There are hundreds of dishes to choose from, and the menu is updated constantly. You also get 7 different dietary preferences: vegan, paleo, pescatarian, gluten-free, dairy-free, and more. Experience chef quality meals every week delivered right to your door. Go to cookunity.com/TYT or enter code TYT before checkout for 50% off your first week. That's 50% off your first week by using code TYT or going to cookunity.com/TYT. So but you know what? If Republicans, if that's the new stance you want to go with, and go, now we're the like annoying dork guys who are like hate the Constitution and want to control what you're saying. Yeah, go for it. Be that guy, because it'll be super easy to beat you as that guy. But Jordan, the number one problem is the FCC threatening ABC's license. That's a huge problem, because that's now we're not talking about true social posts. We're talking about the government doing something deeply unconstitutional, trying to punish someone and a company for their speech. And the second big problem is, corporate executives are the biggest cowards in the world. The minute there's any kind of threat, they're like, "Oh guys, I'm sorry, we'll give you $450 million. Just sue us, so we can just give it to you in some fake lawsuit." Or okay, we'll shut down this, we'll make it more pro-Trump. So even the threat itself, to me, is a direct danger to the First Amendment.
Yeah, this is alarming. I mean, we saw what the future of this looks like. The long-term consequences looks like Hungary, where you have, uniparty control for around 15 years. This was part of what Viktor Orban did, and it made it incredibly hard. While they were successful finally unseating him, part of the reason it was so hard was because they took control of the media. That's what they're doing here. They're not doing it as, well, now it's much more overt, but up until today, it wasn't as overt as what we saw in Hungary. But you saw Barry Weiss take over CBS because of the Ellisons. Now you see the Ellisons trying to take over CNN through this potential Paramount and Warner merger. You saw Stephen Colbert run out. He's had a target on Kimmel for a long time now. He hasn't liked Kimmel for years because Kimmel will mock him. All of this is about Trump's ego. But ultimately, the consequences here, when you have weaponized the FCC, give me a break. It's not about Kimmel. It's about the diversity politics at Disney. Give me a break. Then why did you announce it today while they were complaining? While both Melania and Donald Trump were complaining about Jimmy Kimmel, saying he should be off the air. Give me a break. They're trying to do. You saw Brendan Carr last time with the fake outrage over Charlie Kirk. We can do this the easy way or the hard way. He insinuated that's the next step they would take, was go after the broadcast licenses, and that's what they're going to do here. The timing tells you what this is ultimately about. They're just trying to cover it with the diversity practices at Disney. It's absolutely BS.
Yeah, last thing is, guys, the First Amendment is so important because the founding fathers, with their warts and mistakes and all, were geniuses. And they knew that they needed to arm you, the average American, with the right to be able to say anything you want against the powerful. Otherwise, the powerful will consolidate power too easily and take away your democracy and all of your rights, not just your First Amendment rights. So, and whenever someone's in power, Democrats, they try cancel culture. The Republicans come in, they do cancel culture. And of course, the most powerful force in America, Israel. They also do cancel culture. In fact, they're the kings of cancel culture. And you could tell who's in power by the people saying you're not allowed to speak against them. So when it was Democrats, you weren't allowed to speak against some minorities and other groups that mainly vote for Democrats. When Republicans are in power, you're not allowed to speak against Donald Trump, the only person that anyone who's a Republican these days still cares about. They don't care about America or anything else. You're just not allowed to speak against Trump or his wife, etc. And whether it's Democrats or Republicans, Israel's always in charge. So they're passing nonstop laws to prevent you from speaking. So now in the old days, the saying was, the First Amendment isn't to protect popular speech, it's to protect unpopular speech. But these days, speech against Trump is popular, speech against Israel is popular, but nevertheless, the people in power are trying to block it. Don't let them. This isn't about Jimmy Kimmel, this isn't about partisan politics. This is about protecting our Constitution and our freedom.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.